Let's talk about transformational NLP. Transformational NLP is an extension of conventional NLP. Conventional NLP is this beautiful toolbox for understanding how human beings create experience and then changing that experience, revising the programming, neuro-linguistic programming, revising the programming that creates the experience. In conventional NLP, and I want to say even in conventional NLP, and maybe especially in conventional NLP, those revisions can be done really directly. We are not silicon computers, silicon-based computers. We are complicated, multidimensional, intergalactic beings in some way or other. Yeah? So changing us is not as easy as using the backspace key on a keyboard. It's not quite as easy as typing in a replacement. If you don't like that sentence, let's take it out and replace it. Using neuro-linguistic programming for that purpose is not as simple as working with a laptop. But the analogy is really, really valid nevertheless. Compared to conventional change work, being able to directly rewire, repattern, reprogram things is an extraordinary capability. And it's the basic toolbox of neuro-linguistic programming. I mean, we have a course called Core Competencies of NLP, and it's the entire basic toolbox, the entire foundational toolbox of neuro-linguistic programming. We get better and better and better at teaching it over time. So what used to take 28 days in 1980, we can accomplish in a much shorter time now. All right? We're just better at doing it. And I think people are better at learning it. People who come in now, they're tuned differently than they were decades and decades and decades ago. They get it much more quickly. And in part, as I was saying, because there's so much of it in the culture already, just hidden. It's kind of covert NLP, unacknowledged NLP. So, the conventional NLP toolbox is designed to produce those kinds of changes. It's not necessarily designed to do that in a format that respects that experience in the context of the person's whole life. So really good 1980 NLP, someone comes in and they're in pain in a certain way, and we rewire it, and then they're not in pain that way anymore. But you know what? Odds are they start to be in pain some other way, kind of similar. Yeah? And then we rewire that, and odds are that pain starts to show up again in another situation. Similar, but not entirely the same. And a little bit what was missing from that early NLP was the wherewithal to sit with someone, to be with someone in the context of their whole life, right? And to not have to make their past wrong in any way in order to validate who they are and the beauty of the being that they are right now. We don't have to overcome anything. We don't have to annihilate anything. We don't have to demolish limitations or any of that stuff. Conventional NLP had a tendency in those directions. We're going to overcome your limitations. Boom. Transformational NLP, the main, well, as the name indicates, the main thing it's about is revising relationship, transforming the sense that we have of ourselves and of other selves, other people, yeah, and of life itself. So where a lot of conventional NLP, beautiful as it is, useful as it is, powerful as it is, a lot of it is about persuasion, about using the knowledge of how people create meaning and how their brains work and how their brains respond to things, using that knowledge to be persuasive. Now that's an entirely valid and legitimate endeavor. It can be done really, really creepily, but right on the face of it, it's entirely valid. Someone who needs to communicate and get change in a group of people can use the basics of NLP from the stage or from the platform somewhere or from a position of leadership. They can connect up with people in a way they couldn't do, in the way they wouldn't be able to do without it. They can understand motivation and structure, and they can arrange their language and their words in certain ways so as to connect at a deep level with the people who are listening. That's all about persuasion. That's not bad. That's really important. But transformational NLP operates up above that. If there's anyone watching or listening who wants to learn the platform skills of powerful persuasion NLP, contact us at nlpmarin.com. We will be happy to refer you to some really excellent people who do that work really beautifully. That's not what we do. It's a bit at the edges because NLP always has this power of communication and connection inherently in the toolbox, but it's not what we do. What we are aiming for always is to interact with, if it's change work with a practitioner and a client, it's for the practitioner to interact with the client in a way that includes the client's entire life, that respects everything the client has experienced and learned, that assists the client to change their mind and their heart about themselves, so that even though their life has been exactly the way it's been, they don't have to be turned against themselves, so that they can take a breath, so to speak. It's many breaths, yeah? But so they can take a breath, come into alignment with themselves, have a different, much deeper, much more lovely sense of the validity of who they are in this world. And then from that place, we ask the question that's so important. The first question, really, and the last question, ultimately, what would we like? What is the experience we would like to have as humans? Transformational NLP is especially tuned to kind of arrange it so that we come into alignment and respect with ourselves, other people, and ultimately with life itself. So that we do not have the experience that we are here against the world, or we are here having to be against someone else, or someone else is against us. Just about everyone watching this, everyone participating with it in any way, might have a sense that human beings are said to be in a co-creational relationship with the universe. If that idea is brand new to you, go watch The Secret and then come back. All right? But if that's not a brand new idea, we're all kind of accustomed here in the 21st century to the impression that our choices have something to do, or our beliefs have something to do with the experience that we have. The places and the people who do the most beautiful communication and work about that, about putting your attention on what you want, reaching for something better, declaring to the universe what you value and what you want to bring into existence. Yeah? The people who do the most beautiful work with that, and there are a lot of them, there are gorgeous things around these days. Those people, because they don't have the basics of neuro-linguistic programming, they can say, you know what you have to do? You have to find a way to have a better feeling. Get yourself a better feeling. Reach for something better. Reach out into the future and find that you who is fulfilled in these ways, and put your attention on that version of you. That's a gorgeous instruction. There's no one in this room, and probably no one watching, who's going to disagree with that. But what they don't do, what they can't do, because they don't know it's even available, is they can't tell you how. They can offer the instruction and the encouragement, but they can't say how. We can show you how. We can say, look up and to your right. Imagine the future that you want. Make a picture of you out there up and to your right. Notice if it's in color, or notice how bright it is. And in a very simple way, this is NLP 101.01, we'll step you through and show you how to create the very best feeling imaginable about that future that you would like. On everyone watching, it's up that way, up and to your right. That's just the beginning. So there's a certain kind of spiritual work. There's a certain kind of evolution There's a certain kind of growth and opening to our connection with basically universal processes, universal forces. That's really important. That transformational NLP includes and then provides the manual for how do you do it? How can we do it? And ultimately what's important to me about this is that it changes our relationship with ourselves. I can't say this enough times. It changes our relationship with others, and it changes our relationship, our sense of ourselves and those others in this larger world, in the universe. Right? A lot of very well-meaning people get the impression somehow in life that if they limit their well-being, if they compromise their well-being, if they sacrifice having a specific meaning here, if they sacrifice their well-being, they can contribute to the well-being of others and this world. And what transformational NLP is all about is noticing that this does not work. Yeah? The most useful thing we can do for ourselves and our world is increase our experience of our well-being. Now, no one watching this, probably if you're still watching, has criteria to increase their well-being by destroying the well-being of someone else. I rarely sit down with a client and ask the question, what would you like? Because that's kind of the first question. Not always, but it comes pretty soon in a transformational NLP session. I rarely sit down with a client and say, so what would you like? And the client says, I want total world domination. I want to crush the skulls of the little people beneath my iron heel. I want to remove well-being from everyone in the world and take it to myself. Hardly anyone says that to me. But even if they did, the next thing I would ask, which would be, well, okay, and what will having that do for you? The person would say, I'll feel better about myself. You know? The people who do this kind of work, who find this work really beautiful and really important, really attractive, they have criteria to generally contribute to the well-being of this world. One of the main things we're about is making sure that they don't do that by trying to diminish their own well-being. So what comes into transformational NLP that's not anywhere connected to conventional NLP, which again is beautiful and important and sits in the foundation of everything we do. But two things that conventional NLP doesn't know about, because basically these things are parts of my experience, my learning over the last 4 decades. Things I've participated in that really had a formative effect on me, that changed my sense of myself, that changed my sense of what I want to do and why I'm here and what's important to me. They don't have two things. They don't have the ability to have the perceptions of how it is that we try to increase the general well-being of the world by diminishing our own. They don't notice that. And more particularly, they don't have the context of the work of a man named Bert Hellinger, which is family system dynamics. Not the psychology of family systems, but the outside of space-time interactions that go on among people in families at what Bert Hellinger describes as the family soul. Yeah. We are all operating from the heart in a kind of distorted way, but it's from the heart to try to increase or protect the well-being of people we love. And there is an instinctive thing in people. One of the ways we try to do that is to limit our own well-being. We have ways of working with that, of noticing that, and of just very gently revising that patterning so that feeling better feels better, right? So the main thing, the thing that is important to me about transformational NLP, two main things. It has NLP in it. NLP is this extraordinarily powerful direct toolbox for revising how we create our experience. So it revises things, it changes things. And then the transformational part is the part that lets us find a place in ourselves where it feels good for things to be good, right? Where it feels better for things to be better. And then eventually excellent for things to be excellent. Even though we live in a world where that is not the case for everyone. It's in a world where there's so much that is not okay. Right? It's the first thing people encounter when they start to transform their sense of themselves. How am I supposed to be okay when there's so much that's not okay? We will show you how to do that. Yeah? And how is it supposed to be okay that that's okay in a world where there's so much that's not okay? That is a choice. That is a fundamental choice. So making a new choice is what this is all about. Not just making the choice, but then having the wherewithal to put that choice into action, and not because of some kind of powerful push to defeat our limitations, but simply because we have become aligned, we've mastered, or at least familiarized ourselves with a toolbox that lets us revise things instead of having to fight against them or try to destroy them in an effort to let something else improve or increase. And that is what makes all the difference. That is the difference that makes the difference. And I think perhaps enough said.